Thou must returneth whence thou came. This land is peaceful, its inhabitants kind, but thou dost not belong.
Dark Souls 3, The Ashes of Ariandel, drops on October 25th, and until then, I think you'll be impressed with how much we can glean from a 2-minute trailer. The painted world of Ariamis was one of the most intricately designed levels of Dark Souls 1, accessed via a painting, protected by the painting guardians, who have guarded the paintings of Ariamis for so long that their reason for doing so has long since passed from memory. And Ariamis always was known to be a person, and he created this world with a purpose.
Didst thou not see why Ariamis created this world?
The painted world is home to the unwanted, to the exiled, and to the forlorn.
If you are like us, another forlorn soul, with no place to call your own.
This piece of dialogue references two things. First, it references the Forlorn set of Dark Souls 2, which describes the forlorn invaders as people without a world to call their own. Second, the other beings it could be referring to are the Corvians, described by the storyteller's staff as wretched beings with no place to go, sharing tales of the painted world to forlorn souls. So already you're seeing a lot of characters from previous games mentioned here, and we talked about the Corvians in this video. We talked a lot about Velka and her crow symbology in this one, and I expect to see both related to this boss, this giant, violent, womanly creature with a shawl of black feathers. In the concept art, it's even tied to a chair, nailed to the ground, and in the video it's flagellating itself while bent over this giant lord vessel-like bowl. Surrounding it are flammable wooden pillars, which are reminiscent of those found in Lothric. And you probably just learnt a new word. I know I did. Flagellation is a religious practice involving the mortification of one's own flesh. It's this act that seeks to put to death one's sinful nature, and it helps to separate oneself from your worldly desires. This reminds me of the Mask of Velka's followers in Dark Souls 1, which, and I quote again, symbolizes their separation from worldly desires. So flagellating yourself is very much related to Velka, and this boss has the crow feathers, which is also related to her. Another slightly more tame example of mortification of flesh is the Prostration Pose, which is this pose where you lower yourself to the ground submissively and you kneel piously. The character in the trailer, he does this here in the Cathedral of the Deep, which leads me to believe that this NPC is likely the entrance point to the DLC. This man is offering us a beige and red sliver of canvas, which is the exact same color tone as the painting this girl sits at, and as you know, touching the painting in Dark Souls 1 was how we entered it, so it looks like he's offering us a sliver of the painting also. And it makes a great deal of sense for the painting to be related to the Cathedral of the Deep, for it was Aldrich who dreamt up the miracle Life Hunt Scythe, where he envisioned a pale girl in hiding. Should be pretty obvious who he envisioned. And it's his deacons who surround the building below Yorshka, where the original painting was once contained. And it's his cathedral which makes the perfect early game entrance to the DLC. Not to mention this sword, which is identical to the candlesticks of the deacons. A good question for this trailer is, why does the man say,
"The ashes have come at last"?
I think it's possible he's talking about us, for we are the unkindled ash, and we represent the fact that the fire has been linked so many times that we are born from the ashes of the undead who linked it, and perhaps our ash setting foot in the painted world is a significant event, or perhaps he's just talking about the actual ashes of Ariandel, which is something we don't know about yet. As the character arrives in the painted world, notice that the place looks to be in better shape than in Dark Souls 1. Hell, the architecture even looks drastically different. The bridge is also unbroken, torches are lit, the main building isn't ruined at all, and there's even slivers of green at the end of the bridge. But so much is identical about this scene, though, and it makes me wonder, how will they be putting a twist on this area? How, from a story point of view at least, do you justify recycling the same zone? My best guess is that this could be the painted world of Ariandel, not the world that Ariamis painted later. What if we are exploring the earlier painting of the world before it crumbled to ashes, and the painting of Ariamis is of the ruins it became? I just really want to know what the architecture inside will look like. Look at this underground room, for example. Doesn't it just look like the place you fought the wheel skeletons in Dark Souls 1? I could be wrong about this, but there even seems to be the wheel lever that we turned to rotate the statue all that time ago in Dark Souls 1, and this isn't a lever that's seen in any other parts of Dark Souls 3, so... But while we're speculating, let's move towards the old bosses that were depicted in this trailer. At first I thought that this part of the trailer with the old bosses was just cinematic filler. I thought that From Software didn't give Namco enough B-roll to make their trailer, but really, all of these bosses are related. Literally, all are a part of the royal bloodline in some way. Osiris is husband to Queen Guinevere, who mothered Lothric and Lorien, and who is also sister to the Nameless King, and sister to Gwyndolin, who Aldrich is consuming. And apart from the bloodline stuff, the Nameless King would certainly qualify as a forlorn exile. Osiris appears to have fathered a dragon crossbreed, like Priscilla, and Aldrich, of course, is the one who dreamt of the pale girl with Lyfant's scythe, who lies in hiding. Immediately following these clips is what looks like a short cutscene based on the camera angle, where a character wearing Cornix's set is exorcised of several yellow soul sprites in the untended graves. Curiously, his hand is burning like it does when you link the fire. Maybe this is a new ending? It doesn't look like he's casting a spell, but he is wearing Cornix's set, so maybe they're implying that this is related to pyromancy. I'm just rampant speculating, but it's interesting. In terms of gameplay additions, this image confirms the return of the PvP arena, as we see 4 players face off in the area we fought the Soul of Cinder. In terms of new spells, you know I've gone on in the past about how spells need to be more than just simple projectiles that do varying amounts of damage at varying speeds, and at least 2 of the new spells in the DLC do look interesting. This Disc of Light boomerang thing is great because it requires you to position your character appropriately to get a hit on the bounce back, and this frost sorcery could be interesting if it actually slows our opponent and adds an element of crowd control into the magic system, which I think it sorely needs. So colour me tentatively hyped for the new spells, but bear in mind, I've never actually been impressed with the spells they've added to a Souls game, so... The only new weapons seen is this axe with the Firestorm AoE effect, there's this scimitar with a fairly standard spin weapon art, and of course the candlestick sword that may or may not be buffing itself with a type of colourless flame. Also, is there going to be a new torch added with this weapon art? Looks like it. New enemies include a wolf pack, there's the fly creatures, this stag helm warrior, a more deformed version of the Crow Men, and you might have missed this, but in the blizzard are the silhouettes of dark-haired tree women with small fires lit at the ends of their branches. And to end the video, I'm going to pose to you what I think are the biggest curiosities in the trailer and in the DLC to come. First, the identity of this creature. I've seen speculation that it's Guinevere, and the evidence for that is that it's clutching a giant lord vessel-like structure, and that it makes some sense for Guinevere to have given up and been drawn into the painted world. I've seen speculation that it's Velka, And I've mentioned before that that holds merit because of the crow symbology and because of the theme of self-mortification that's brought up in the black set. What's more likely though than either of those two, I'd say, is that it's some unnamed being, a simple Corvian perhaps, and it's even possible that it's a man, not a woman, because the official Dark Souls Facebook page has labelled this as a man. However, I'm pretty sure that this page is run by a simple marketing team, so I'm not going to put too much faith in their captions. Second, I want to know who the man is who brings us to this world. Is it Ariamis? Is Ariandel the female depicted upon the painter's ladder? Is this her world, or is it still Ariamis's? And this piece of narration is interesting.
Then show my lady flame.
Why does she need to be shown flame? Does she want to see our flame so she can paint a new vision, perhaps? And what are the ashes of Ariandel? In Souls, ashes are remains, so I'm not too sure that Ariandel's fate is a happy one. Is this wolf Sif? It certainly seems larger than the other wolves. Look at the trees for comparison. But Sif has no real connections to this place. And most importantly, why does the boss attack us with Estus soup? Time will tell. And by the way, remember, I recently did a lot of postulating on how I thought the two most likely themes for the DLC would be the Angels of Lothric or the Hollows of Londor, and you can see those videos here, but I couldn't be happier that they seem to be throwing us a sort of curveball, as usual, and they're hitting us with something we didn't quite expect to see. And it's not too late to talk about the Angels or the Hollows. This DLC could still answer some of those questions. Maybe some answers about Guinevere's royal family exist in the painted world, or maybe we'll learn about the significance of Velka through the crow symbology or something like that. So, on October 25th, 2 months from now, I hope you make this channel the place to be, but until then, let's get into some Prepare to Cry. Thanks for watching, guys.